Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Twins Take Podcast. We're your hosts, Luke and Jackson Hershey, twins from Charlotte, North Carolina. Same face, two opinions. And guys, we are live in Orange Beach, Alabama. And really, we're excited to drop this week's podcast. It's one of our favorites we filmed so far.
Yeah, it's really a special one. It's so fitting coming off of March Madness. We first of all, it's one of our favorite times of year because you're getting to see teams compete over and over again, and then you see the Cinderella teams that no one was talking about prior, and they come in and they'll upset a huge team. And this year's team was High Point. And the special thing about High Point University is everyone's like, hey, they're the Disney World University. And they upset Wisconsin. We were actually all on a plane watching the game. The entire plane ride went nuts when they won. And Chase Johnston, who hit the game winner against Wisconsin and really led this team, who has an unbelievable shot, actually came and joined us on this episode. And we were able to talk with him about his faith in Jesus and how it's really led him throughout his life. He's got some really cool stories, and I think he's going to do some even bigger things after basketball. But it was such a blessing to get to sit down with him. Thank you, High Point, for setting this up. So, without further ado, let's jump into this week's podcast with none other than Chase Johnston. Let's go.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Twins Take Podcast. We're your hosts, Luke and Jackson Hershey, twins from Charlotte, North Carolina. And we got March Madness legend on the show. High Point had an incredible run, and we're so excited to have Chase Johnston on the show today. And thank you. First of all, thank you so much for taking the time in the middle of your week. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you guys having me on, and I'm super grateful just to be able to share my story and answer any questions you guys have.
Yeah, man. I guess we'll get into it. Bro, first of all, I can't imagine what the last couple of weeks have been like for you. I mean, to be on the national television. I mean, I'll go back. We were on a senior trip. I'm sitting on the airplane we're about to take off when y'all were playing Wisconsin in the first game, and everyone was watching the game on their phones. And when you hit the shot, the entire plane just went nuts, and it was awesome. But how cool has that been to get to play in that kind of game over the last couple of weeks?
Oh yeah, I mean it's a dream. It's something that you dream about as a kid. I can't tell you time and time again how many times my brother and I would try and emulate that type of moment in the backyard growing up, playing one on one. Making our own brackets, picking different teams. So to be able to be there, just to be in the tournament is a blessing within itself. But then to be able to win a game, make the game-winning layup, like it just shows a testament of God's faithfulness, and I'm just so grateful that I was able to do that and be given the platform to share His name. So
Man, I love that. I'm gonna ask you about your faith here in a second, but I kind of wanted to know, when did you really get into basketball? Because every guy has it seems just a different time period. Some guys start early, some guys start late. But when did you really start getting into it?
yeah, I started getting into basketball around 3 or 4 years old,
Yeah.
and I started to take it really serious when I got into eighth grade. I was playing a bunch of different sports just to try and stay active.
Yeah.
And then my older brother, who played basketball in college, I would be in the gym with him every day, and my dad, and so was like, you know what, I got to pick a sport at some point and take it serious, or else I'm not going to be able to move up and be better than anybody. So around eighth grade is when I really was like, you know what, this is a sport I want to play. This is a sport I want to try and go Division 1 for, and yeah.
Yeah, man, dude, that's so sick. And I know you didn't actually start at High Point. You started off at Stetson. What was your recruiting process like, actually, when you decided you wanted to play college basketball?
Um, yeah, the recruiting process is always definitely overwhelming. It's fun, but it's overwhelming. You have a bunch of different schools and colleges reaching out, coaches, trying to see if you're the best fit for their program. Ended up going to Purdue Fort Wayne out of high school, and then transferred to Stetson for 2 years. And then after Stetson, ended up going to Florida Gulf Coast and graduated there. And then all throughout that process, just like I said, was it fun? For sure. You get to meet a bunch of different coaches, and it's cool going back. Like I was up at the Final Four last week, and I was connecting with a bunch of coaches that had recruited me back in the day, which has, it's cool to see how we just talk about where we started and where we're at now. But, you know, I'm grateful for every school I've been to, every coach that was willing to take a chance on me, and I'm grateful that High Point was this last school that I'll be at. So.
Yeah, man, that's I love that. And kind of jumping ship to High Point. When you entered the transfer portal, how did you know that High Point was the right fit for you? Hmm.
They reached out to me 2 years ago. I had no idea, never really heard of the school before. I had some people tell me, "Hey man, this campus is like Disneyland. It's unreal." And I
Right.
was like, all right, like I was like, all right, like a lot of people can talk up campuses, but until you really get onto the campus, you don't really, you can't really, you got to see for yourself. And so they reached out and we scheduled a visit. I went up there on my visit 2 years ago. I stepped on campus and I was like, whoa, this place is insane. Like it's the nicest campus in the country by far.
For sure.
And I'm actually going into the weight room on my visit and I run into my best friend. He's like a brother to me. Trey met him,
Yeah.
and we start talking about Jesus for like 20 minutes on my visit. And I remember walking out of the gym. I really love what that conversation was all about, and then just seeing what High Point was building. They were like 27-9 that year. Love the coaching staff, and I get back to my hotel late at dinner time and after dinner, and was talking over with my brother and my dad, and I was like, "So what do you guys think?" And I just remember my brother being like, "Dude, I think it's a great fit for you. I think it'll be good for you to go away from home and just grow up a little bit." But then also too, he's like, "Dude, you have another teammate that loves the Lord,
Mm.
and you also love the Lord, and you guys could maybe potentially do some big things there if the Lord allows that. And so I think you should commit." And it was right then and there. I was like, you're right. And I committed that night. So
Man, that's unreal. The Benhams are a special family, man. And how they preach the word of God. I think that's so cool. I really want to talk to you about your faith. When did you really feel that your relationship with God really kind of got to that next level of like, man, really feeling it, and then wanting to share that with your team?
yeah, so 3 years ago, Jesus took over my life. He opened up my eyes. He showed me who I really was, and he showed me who he is and what he really did for me. I kind of all throughout my life, put my faith in God in second grade, got baptized in eighth grade, but then abused his grace, abused his love for 23 and a half years. Wore the Christian bracelets, wore the cross, posted things on my Instagram story, claimed Jesus, claimed the title Christianity, but didn't follow him. Wasn't a true disciple for Christ. And 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, I went home from Florida Gulf Coast late summer in July. My brother had just got transformed by Jesus like five years prior. He's like, "Hey Chase, let me know." And he's like, "Tell me how you're living your life. Like, let me know what you're doing." And
Mm.
I started telling him, and I thought it was cool, thought it was funny. And he's just staring at me, and I just remember when I'd go back home and see my brother back and forth
Yeah.
when his life was getting transformed. I remember before we had this conversation, I would leave and be like, "Man, there's something different about this dude. Like he used to be
Mm.
that dude that was lost and in the dark, but there's something different." And he would always share the gospel with me and try and lead me to sermons and youth group nights, but I just didn't want anything to do with it. I was so caught up in basketball being my identity and everything of this world being my identity. And so fast forward through that, like I said, we had that conversation in late July, and I'm telling him how I'm living my life, and he pauses me. He's like, "Chase, let me tell you something." And I was like, "What's up?" He's like, "You wear Christian bracelets, you wear a cross on your neck, you post things about Jesus, you tell people you're a Christian, but if you were to die right now, you'd go to hell." And it was 2 days later after that, I got a text from him that was a devotional on First John. He was like, "Dude, I want you to read this. I want you to really like this. This devotional helped change my life." So I open it up to First John, get to First John 1:6. First John 1:6 says, "If you say you have fellowship with the Lord while you walk in darkness, you lie and do not practice the truth." Scales removed from my eyes right there. That's my life, right? In other words, I'm saying, Jesus, I'm a Jesus follower. I love Jesus, but my life looks nothing like Jesus. And so it was in that moment I said, "Jesus, take my life, take my heart. I want to live for you for the rest of my life." And it was in that moment, dude, that he saved me. And your second question, why do I, how am I bold about it? Why do I do it? Because like that's why we're here. I'm on a team that, not everybody knows the Lord, and this world, we live in a world that hates God if they're not followers of Jesus, and so we're called to go out and proclaim His name. And that could cost me my life, but at the end of the day, if that does, I know where I'm going. I know I'll spend eternity forever with the Lord, and I want other people to know Jesus, just like I didn't know Jesus, and somebody came and told me, and I wouldn't have known about Him if that person didn't do it. So why would I hold back on doing that with other people in my life?
And I think that's so powerful. It's crazy kind of looking over the last 3 years, because you see this trend of athletes finally be willing to share their faith in Jesus, and I think that's one so powerful because the world we live in today is really dark, and
Hmm.
you need people like you that are willing. And also, I love the part where you talked about your brother and you said something's different. Like I remember going in to freshman year and just being like, man, I was wearing it on the outside, but on the inside, I was like, man, I'm like, I'm just sitting in sin, and my young life later changed
Yeah.
my life, and it was that moment of like, man,
Mm.
something's different about him, and they might not walk it out perfectly, but you know you want to
Yeah.
be more similar, and I think that's so special. So, man, how cool has it been getting to kind of share your faith on the national stage over the last couple of
Yeah.
weeks? I mean, I'm sure that's been unreal.
Dude, it's been amazing. It's been something that I've prayed for
Yeah,
fervently. Like I always tell people, yeah, I prayed for that, but God didn't need to give me that. He didn't need to give me this platform. God doesn't need us. He doesn't need to give us these great gifts, but He chooses to because that's the loving Father He is, and He wants to. And so it's been amazing just seeing everything go on, and it's like I said, it's something that I prayed for, and that's what I want to be known by. Like somebody asked me the other day, they're like, at the end of all this, what do you want? What do you want somebody to take from this? And I just want people to see Jesus. I don't want them to see the shot and the layup. I want them to see that Bible verse that was proclaimed on on that interview of what Christ did for us. Like I want people to see Jesus Christ in my life, and I want them to come to know the Lord through a basketball game, which is crazy, but that's how the Lord works. So yeah.
man, I love that message. When going through this season, obviously, you came to High Point because you found teammates that you really connected with. Throughout this season, how did you know this team is going to be different? Hmm.
Um, I think it was after we lost our first couple of games, and
Yeah.
or we didn't lose our first couple of games, but once we lost a couple of games, a couple in the non-conference, and then I think one in the conference. But just seeing how we responded to that, seeing how even through the trials and tribulations, like dudes really started to find joy in other teammates' success, and that was really cool. My season this year wasn't exactly how I wanted it to be. I came in with a lot of plans, a lot of agendas of what I wanted it to be like. And 11 games in, I get called into my coach's office, and he's like, "Hey, man, we're taking you out of the starting lineup. I don't know how much you're going to play the rest of the year, but I need you to embrace that." And I fought that for a little bit, and every time I fought it, the Lord convicted me, like, "Are you going to fight it? Or are you going to surrender it and trust me?" And it was in that process for like 15 to 16, like 15 games, maybe a little less. Maybe I didn't play some games, or when I did go in, I would sub in with the walk-ons for like 3-4 minutes. And I'll never forget the morning I woke up the day after I got my starting spot taken. We're about to play a game, and it's like the first time I'm not starting, and I'm like anxious and nervous and just fearing, like man, what am I going to think? Like, what are people going to think of me? The enemy's tempting me. He's saying, you can't proclaim Jesus anymore. This platform that you wanted, like, you're done. You're done. You lost it all. And the Lord lays in my heart Psalms 119, verses 65 through 80. And as I'm reading those two verses, those verses, I just want to read it with you. There's two verses that stood out to me when I was reading it. And verse 71 in Psalms 119 says, "My suffering was good for me, for it taught me to pay attention to your decrees." And verse 75 says, "I know, O Lord, that your regulations are fair. You disciplined me because I needed it." And within an hour, God had me on my knees, and I was just in surrender, and just like, "Lord, thank you for having me go through this, and just take everything away that's not of you." And I remember walking out of my house that day and just such peace and joy, because I knew that basketball is just a game. It's not who I am. It's not my identity, and it's something that I prayed to the Lord. Lord, I pray that the gospel would be advanced this year before the season started. So I can't be upset when He started doing that, but it's not how I want it to go.
We literally, it was funny. We were speaking at our school's chapel probably about last week, and they had asked us this question of, man, how do you sit and how do you sit and when you don't when you're sitting in God's plan and you're not happy about it or you don't know about it. And it's funny because I remember we were sitting. I went to this small Christian school called Liberty Prep. That's actually why I know the Benhams. They went to school with us, and
Yeah. Sweet.
And it was great. Everything, like friends, everything I could ask for. We were doing great in sports, and like midway through my junior year, I get this like pretty much just peace from God of like, man, you need to transfer schools midway through your junior year, and I'm sitting at the
Mm.
beach. I'm like, man, like, why in the world would I do that? Like, I'm happy. I have my friends. Like that. This is not feel right at all. And I just remember I sat down praying, crying to my parents. I'm like, man, I know this is what God wants me to do. It's just not what I want to do. And ultimately I was like, hey, if it's in God's plan, you need to do it. And it ultimately was the best decision I could have made. But it's so crazy when you're sitting in God's will and the human flesh is sitting there like, man, I want to go my own way. It's so crazy how God will work, and I think that's so cool to watch your testimony and ultimately how like when you didn't know what was going to happen, how God ultimately used you, and I think that's so cool, man.
Yeah, man, it's still something I can't really put into words. Just, I mean, his faithfulness is incomprehensible, right? His love is incomprehensible, and it's like sometimes I'm asking myself, like, why me? You
Right.
know, why am I on this platform? Why do I get to do this? So, yeah, just like I said, just super grateful.
Yeah, man.
Man, again, I really love that. And as the season went on, it obviously flipped. You got your starting spot back, which is great. As y'all went into the NCAA, or not even NCAA, but as y'all went to conference tournament, because you're a mid major, you knew you kind of had to win the whole thing out. What is the pressure like as a team, uh, knowing that y'all can win, but it's a lot more challenging knowing it's if
Winner,
you
winner, go home.
yeah, win or go home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, you're a team. What were we going in the conference tournament? We were 27-4, I believe.
Yep.
Um, and you have a target on your back. Every game we go to, it's sold out. It doesn't matter where we go. We went to Presbyterian last game of the year. Presbyterian sold out the crowd. They don't sell anybody. They haven't sold anybody out, and I don't even know when. And so I mean, there's obviously pressure. There's obviously, there's an expectation. There's a standard that has to be met. Um, but our team this year was player led, and our locker room was, truly built off John 15:13 that says there's no greater love than this, than to lay down one's life for one's friend. And I think it was so amazing how when we would go into hostile environments and when we go into big games like we did in the conference tournament and then even on March Madness, we were so embracing the servanthood mindset. And when you're willing to serve somebody else, you're not thinking of yourself anymore. And so our team got to a point where nobody was thinking of themselves. And even when we had another teammate come along that would be like, hey, get outside yourself. Like you're thinking of yourself right now, and it's not helping the team. And the
Accountability.
best part about that is that we had responsive. We had, like my team and our team. We were responsive to that. We were able to hear that and not take it and be mad that we just got critiqued, but embrace it. Like you said, accountability. And because of that, we were able to win big games and perform in high pressure moments because we were being servants like Jesus was. So
And I love that. I love that the team embodied that message. I think that's so special, dude. I want to hear this because I think this is such a cool experience that isn't talked about enough. Going into March Madness, like I mean, that kind of like cameras everywhere. I mean, the hype is obviously there. What's it like as a player walking out into that game? Like, do you get chills? What's going on in your mindset as a player?
yeah, it's fun, bro. It's so fun. It's like an experience. It's an experience like you see it on TV and you're like, man, that's so cool. But when your feet actually touch that floor, and I mean, like I said, let alone getting to the tournament and doing that on top of winning a game and upsetting, like it's crazy, dude. Like we still have people reaching out to us. Like I thought my schedule would be like free now. No,
Sure.
it's gotten more and more.
Oh,
Um, Yeah, it's just going, dude, and it's fun though. Like to be on March Madness, to be on that stage, it is the greatest event I believe in sports history, and the excitement around it, especially as like an underdog, you have the whole state, you have the whole arena rooting for you besides the team you're playing, and it's just fun, dude. It's an experience that you can't really put into words.
What was the locker room environment like after that win against Wisconsin?
We were happy, we were
I was
excited,
gonna say probably
just
unreal.
Yeah, some people were crying. I blacked out. I was just going up to everybody. Just I feel like it was just a built up passion of like what we knew we could do, and then being able to go out and perform and do it on the highest level on the biggest stage. Um, we were pretty hyped, and then we were talking. Like, I mean, even after we were celebrating, we did get back into like a mode of like, all right, but we have another game that we know we can win and we can beat Arkansas. Obviously, we ended up not doing that, but we had confidence in that
Yeah.
locker room, and I believe we should have won that game.
Right. I mean, it was a. I mean, I think if y'all played them again, I mean, it could have gone either way. Like, I mean, it was. I mean, we were rooting for you back at home, man. It was such a fun season to watch. Dude. So what's next, man? What's after this season? You still wanting to play? What's kind of next for your journey?
I mean, I've been contacted to do some workouts, talk to a couple of agents. I don't have like a primary agent right now, but the Lord's really laid a heavy passion on my heart. Actually, through a conversation with Trey a year and a half ago, I'll never forget where we were walking and we're talking about the Lord, and he's like, "Dude, you have a calling to be a pastor." And I was like, "Bro, like nobody's ever said that to me before. You're the first person that's ever told me that. Like, what are you talking about?" And since that day, once he told me that, it's just increased more and more. And so I've actually taken a job in my church under my pastor to go into pastoral internship and eventually become a pastor. So, yeah, I'm excited, dude. A lot of fear, a lot of nervousness, but when the Lord calls, he honors obedience, and so just want to be in the right steps that he calls me to be.
Dude, looking at your life, like it's so crazy. Just like, especially like you said, over the last, I don't know, 3 years, like the little seeds you can see that God's just planting in your life, and
Bro.
that lead up to this moment. Like, I always, and I was telling this, I was telling this to Jackson the other day. I was like, man, when you're sitting in the middle of God's plan, and you don't feel like that's how you think it should go, it feels terrible. But then when you go through it all and you're at the backside of it and you look back and you're like, man, like God really worked, and how I don't know how he orchestrated and tied it all together to be sitting here in this moment. I think that's so sick, man. We're hyped for you.
Dude, man, last
Yeah,
question.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Last question for you. Obviously, you've had one crazy career and it's just beginning. If you had to look back throughout your journey, is there a favorite either memory or lesson you've learned along the way?
I would say the exact thing that I went through this year.
Hmm.
I tell a lot of people this was the hardest season of my life for basketball, but it was the best season. And I don't just say that because and I don't just say that because I went into March Madness and I became, this people say icon or legend. But no, I love what I went through this year. Just sitting back, like the faithfulness of the Lord, and just like the Lord, He allows suffering and affliction in our life for a reason. And if we're not going through that in our lives as Christians, then I'm scared for us as if we're calling ourselves believers. Like it should be the hardest life we ever live. And so I'm so grateful I went through it because it's taught me how to be, God willing, one day a better father, a better husband. Even just He taught me how to be a leader this year. He stripped away everything I thought it was to look like a leader, and He showed me what a real leader looks like in a biblical way. And that's to be a servant, and that's to be one that's willing to lay down his life for other people, and to really just love others even when things aren't going your way. And so that's my biggest moment that I'll never forget in my basketball career is what I went through this year, and all the days that I felt like quitting and the Holy Spirit would convict me and be like, but that's not you, that's your old self. Your
Mm.
new self is what Christians are called to be: soldiers. You don't quit. You remain faithful. You finish the race, like Paul says. And so that would be my answer to that question. Just this year and the trials I went through, and so grateful that I was able to go through it, even though there were days when I questioned his faithfulness or questioned his love. He never turned his back on me.
I'm so excited for you. I know. I mean, it's evident God's got so many big plans for you, and you're only getting started, man. Dude, thank you so much. One, for taking the time, keep spreading the word, and using your platform. We're excited to see where you end up.
Yeah, I appreciate you, bro. It means a lot. Appreciate you guys having me on. Just super grateful. Thankful for that you guys have a podcast that you're willing to do this and ask questions about the Lord. So we'll be praying for that, and just like I said, grateful that I'm able to be here.
Yeah, man. Really appreciate you. Everyone go follow Chase Johnston on all his platforms, man. Thank you so much.